Hey everyone, Dr. Greg here with just a quick announcement before we started today's episode. And I really need your help from my loyal listeners, so if you can help me with this favor, I'd appreciate it. I've been creating some videos that solve specific psychotherapy issues, like the hidden ways we self-sabotage and why most mental health advice doesn't work for high-performing individuals, over on my YouTube channel in the past few weeks. Now, I wasn't originally planning on bringing the audio of these to the podcast feed, but a few people have asked me about it, so I wanted to leave the decision up to you all. If you think there'd be value in listening to the audio versions of these videos, please head on over to my YouTube channel and leave a comment down below and let me know. The link is in the description below. I would love to hear from you. If you'd rather keep the podcast feed exactly how it is, no problem. I am happy to do that because, quite frankly, I am just thrilled and honored and grateful that all of you continue to support this show as it is and as you have been over the years. So again, link in the description. Please let me know one way or the other. And now on to today's episode. Welcome back, everyone, to Meditations by Gregory T. Obert, bringing you the best new guided meditations and mental health discussions every week. I'm your host, clinical psychologist, Dr. Gregory T. Obert. Thank you so much for joining me today. And what a day it is, because I have such a wonderful guest to share with all of you. It's been a privilege just chatting with him up until this point, so I am sure that this interview is going to go so well. But let me take you far across the pond, if you're in America, far across to a land full of men named Robin Hood, King Arthur, where clocks are called Ben, and where beans are eaten for breakfast. We're going over to jolly old England, and I was approached by someone named Mr. John Lake, who is a listener of the show and had just some incredible experiences that he wanted to share with the audience. And after talking with him, I knew that he was someone who would bring a ton of value to the audience. So I am thrilled to present Mr. John Lake to the Meditations audience. Sir, thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, bless you, Gregory. Thank you so much yourself. Really have been looking forward to being with you. I'm hoping that your listeners will gain some insight and enjoy what we're about to say.
Oh, I am sure they will, because I've already gained insight from you, so I'm,
Oh,
I'm sure everyone else will as well. But for those who don't know who you are, I wonder if you could
yes,
tell them a little bit about who you are, what you do, and
surely.
how we came
I'm
to meet.
Surely, as you said, I'm truly wonderful to be alive. I have been a psychiatric nurse for 40 years or more. I was born in London. I was actually born and then taken by my biological mum to the National Children's Home locally. They took me there, and my parents, my adoptive parents, then adopted me from this home, which was wonderful. And we went back year after year to see where I'd been adopted from. And I was very, very fortunate to grow up in such a sort of stable, loving family. My mum and dad were particularly involved in the Methodist Church in London, and I had lots of friends in the church. But I maintained a sort of spirituality as well, which wasn't part of the Methodist Church. It was a far greater thing. And then from London, I moved down to Devon, and that's where I did my training. And I trained as a psychiatric nurse from 1982 to 86. But prior to that, I was in a London teaching hospital, St Bartholomew's, and I worked as a nursing assistant in the accidents and emergency department there. Oh, it was wonderful. It was absolutely wonderful. And I gained so much sort of insight into meeting people in all sorts of walks of life and in all sorts of critical injury and accidents, and it was wonderful. And so it's formed who I am today, really.
Yeah. And we were talking even before we started recording how you've had this extensive training as a
Yes,
psychiatric nurse. And in
Yeah.
fact, you have helped hundreds, if not thousands,
Hmm.
of people in your career to try to help them
Yes.
not only just get stabilized, but also to get some sort of high quality mental health care, which in and of itself, I tip my hat to you, and I hope the listeners will as
Yeah.
well, because
Oh, bless you.
being a psychiatric nurse is not always easy, especially depending on where you're at, if you have the staff, what the
Mhm.
rules are. I mean, there are a
Yes.
lot of challenges.
Of course. And also, it's one thing being a psychiatric nurse. The other thing is being able to offer and deliver holistic care. Because I believe quite sincerely, and 100% that if we can deliver this holistic care that covers every aspect of the person
Hmm.
and
Which is,
underpins everything.
yeah, which is something that I love about this show that I do, which is my own philosophy, my own healthcare. That
Yeah,
unfortunately, in a lot of medical systems, it's we treat the one thing and kind of ship you
surely.
off to someone else, and maybe they'll treat that thing. And it's
Yes.
never about
Yeah.
treating the whole person. But for
No.
you, your philosophy is really all about the holistic side, which is great to hear.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And also, it's meant that we can afford to see the person as a whole and not just a person living with a type of disease or a condition. And that was generated into us from the very start. And we were very fortunate to, get such excellent training, really. And of course, I mentioned we before the show we mentioned that my wife Lydia also did the training, the psychiatric nurse training, at exactly the same time from 1982 to 1986. So we've had similar pathways, which
Yeah.
has been amazing.
So between the two of you, double the hundreds or thousands number, and that's how many people both of you have helped in your
Yes, for
careers,
sure.
which is
It's very
remarkable.
true. Yeah, it is. I'm very fortunate and actually do miss the vacation side of the job. I made some wonderful friends and colleagues and other things and other people and felt that I made a partial difference to, as you say, many people.
Yeah. Well, so then you proceeded with your career and did
Yes.
the wonderful work that you did, again treating the
Yeah,
whole person as opposed to just giving them medication and shipping them off
surely.
somewhere, right?
Yes.
So walk me through kind of what shifted for you because you're no longer a psychiatric nurse.
Oh,
So
no.
let's talk a little bit about kind of what happened with that transition
Yes,
there.
surely. So the transition is a very interesting question. Um, and at the top of all this, I meant to say that I would like, if it's okay with you and your listeners, to dedicate what we're talking about to three groups of people. Firstly, Lydia, my wife, who it's our wedding anniversary this year, 30 years. Um,
Congratulations.
oh, thank you. And also to Lydia, of course. To our children, they know who they are, wonderful people. And thirdly, to the doctors and nurses that have been looking after me for the last 2 years. Um, 2 years ago in December, so that was 2 years ago, 2 Decembers ago, I was admitted as an emergency for emergency surgery. It was the first operation that I had, and I then had two more operations after that. I ended up in intensive care for 2 weeks, and I was on life support. And Lydia was told that I may not survive this, and I got over it. I was in intensive care, and as I say, and my body appeared to turn to like cement because I wasn't able to move. I'd lost so
Mhm.
much muscle tone. And I was discharged and I got slightly better. And then I was readmitted for major, major problems. And I had more major surgery. I had 7 operations in all. and was again admitted to intensive care. And so for the last 2 years, I've been under the treatment and care of these wonderful people in the Devon hospitals, for which I'm truly grateful. One thing I haven't discussed with you, Gregory, is the fact that many years ago, I said that I was working in accident and emergency at St. Bart's in London. I had a very rare blood group, have a very rare blood group. And I was called by a specific team. They asked me if I could do a platelet donation. They had somebody that needed some platelets
Hmm.
in the blood. So I was taken to this room. It was like an operating theatre, and I lay down, and there was this great big machine. This was back in the 80s, and it was effectively going to take platelets out of my body and then put them in a seal, and then put the blood back into my body, and I'd be fine.
Hmm.
Actually, what did happen was that instead of putting the blood back into my body, they continued to take blood out of my system, and I had what was called a hemolytic episode. But in the process of that, I seemed to rise from the bed, and I was hovering probably about 4 or 5 feet above the bed where I was being treated. And I was immediately watching what was going on beneath me. It was a crash team, and they were effectively resuscitating me.
So
And
you
I was
were
watching.
so you were having this out of body experience, and some
Yes.
people out there in internet land, you might have heard of it as called that. Considering the loss of blood that you're experiencing, I would even call it a near death experience of sorts.
Yes. Yeah,
And I wonder if you can tell us a little bit about how it felt to ultimately separate from your body.
I can. I've given it a lot of thought. And it was a very surreal experience. It's almost impossible to put it into words. But all I knew was that there was a tunnel, like a chimney, of extreme bright light. The light was 100 times brighter than an operating table light, or like when you go to the dentist, you have this light that they whang in your face. This light was multitudes brighter. It was like a beam of light above my body, and it was effectively me going further upwards, or going back down into where I was. And it was absolutely phenomenal. It was it was as clear it's as clear now as I talk to you, and as it was happening, and it was just amazing, really.
So
And
there was
I
this
mean,
brightness that was happening, and it sounds like it was incredibly peaceful as well.
yes, for sure. There was no sound. It was like a black and white movie with no sound, and it was incredibly peaceful. It was surreally so. It was like water was. We talked about the colors and the magic that you present during your meditations. It was very surreal, like that, like water flowing, not rushing, not gushing, but just trickling, like a trickling noise in my head. And the light was peaceful. There wasn't anything threatening. It was a peaceful. It was almost like I was either going to ascend or descend back down. It was absolutely wonderful. It was amazing, really.
Yeah. And so while you're being surrounded by this comfort, this soothing sound of the water,
Yeah.
the bright light, it sounds like you had a choice of sorts, or at least that's what it seemed like at the time, of continue into the light or go back down towards that
Mm-hmm.
crash team.
Yes, indeed. I've always believed in heaven from a very early age. When I was very young, I did my scripture union exams at the church. I was in the junior church, as I said before. My parents were heavily involved in the church life. So I'd been prepared for what I thought was going to, ultimately happen, which will happen for all of us. And I was very fortunate that I knew that I would be, yeah, going to heaven. But what about heaven? What is it there? We none of us know. Having said that, I met a lady a few years ago who said to me that she had experienced something quite similar to what I have been through, but she actually felt that she partially stepped into heaven for a very split moment. And I thought that was quite, really quite something. And she was stood there. We were talking as we are now, and it was phenomenal and very graceful, very therapeutic, and very peaceful. And the images that you portray during your meditations were all like watching a film, if you like, of beauty, of clarity, of smells, and it was just amazing.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that the meditations that I have can sort of conjure these images because,
Yes,
thinking about what comes next, it's, in my opinion, going to be lovely and beautiful. So why not try and paint
yes,
that picture while we're here?
for
So,
sure.
so while you're floating above your body, uh,
Yes.
you're looking down too at this team that's trying to resuscitate you. I wonder kind of what was going through your mind.
Well, that's a very good question. We've seen illusionists. When I was young, my mum and dad took me to the Magic Circle in London, and these illusionists had people suspended in air. And I often wondered how that happened. And to answer your question, it's very difficult to articulate what actually is going or did go through my mind because my mind was concentrating, or my brain was concentrating on what was going on beneath me to, keep me alive, but also what was ahead of me. And it was that choice, I think. And it was the strength of mind that, got me through it really. And that in mind, that has transcended to 2 years ago being on life support in a coma. I got through it because of spirituality, of mindfulness, and, of family and friends, really. And of course, medical technology, and for which I'm, as I said to you just now, so grateful for because the skill of doctors and nurses has been just amazing.
Yeah, and I'm glad, and I am curious about the coma piece too. I'm wondering though, still, sort of, what made you ultimately decide to go back down to your body instead of
Well,
going into the light.
yeah, and that's a question which I haven't been able to answer.
Oh, okay. Which is okay.
um, yes, and I assume that it was the I felt that it was so graceful. It was like I was being gently allowed to go back into resting on the bed from where I was. I probably, I suppose, probably felt that I was what, 4 or 5 feet above, easily that, maybe 5 to 6 feet. It was quite something, and it was quite a fascinating and appreciative time. I don't know how long it lasted for, but it felt like it was an eternity.
Yeah. And how we were talking with each other over email, one of the things that
Yes.
I have been recently finding and being served a lot of online is near death experiences myself.
Yep.
And particularly, shout out to a channel on YouTube named Shaman Oaks.
Hmm.
He's got great interviews by people who've experienced similar things to what you have. And that's always been one of the most fascinating parts of near death experiences in the short time I've been hearing about them. It's just this
Yes.
idea of time and how it's almost like you find yourself out of time, as in removed from time itself, and it's hard to even gauge what the passage of time looks like from that sort of in between space you found yourself in. Is that fair to say for you as well?
Very fair, very fair. I could not actually begin to say, well, it was for this period of time or it was for that period of time. It felt like it was forever. I felt very serene, actually. It was being almost, being like an astronaut in space. I know that's a very strange analogy, but it felt very like that I was weightless. I was, I couldn't feel any part of my body. And but I knew that I was within my body. I don't know whether that's confusing or not, but I felt that my body was one. If I was going to rise up, it was going to be out of my body. So, in other words, my soul was going to, escape. It's very interesting thinking about it and being completely objective about it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure it's very difficult to put an experience like that into words. This
Yes,
idea of
yeah,
how do you describe what it's like to have one foot in your body and one foot in the afterlife.
yes,
It's probably
surely,
a very strange, surreal experience in general, let alone to try and
yeah,
speak about it.
very much. And when you look back on such things, mention that I was adopted. This might be something akin to what we were talking about, but maybe separate. We went to I tried to find my biological parents, and we were staying. Lydia and I were staying in a hotel, and in the middle of the night, I happened to get up and I pulled the curtains across the bedroom. It's a very dark night, and there's a garden at the back of where we looked out of. And I'd seen a picture, a photograph of my biological mum. And there, without any doubt whatsoever, there I felt she was standing looking at me in the garden.
Hmm.
She was looking up at the window, and it was quite just the most amazing vision. It wasn't frightening. It was completely normal, and it was like a vision, um, of reality for that split second or seconds as I looked out. I remember she was stood there with her arms sort of crossed across her chest, holding a handbag and dressed in clothes that were, in the 1950s, late 50s. And it was quite remarkable. And my wife and I, we had a beautiful golden Labrador called Harry. Bless Harry. He was just something else. I miss him to this day. And Harry had passed, and he passed in 2006, just between Christmas and New Year. I think it was the 28th of December, and we were on a walk by the sea near us. And our guardian angel stood there, a chap. He said, "Go home." And we effectively turned round, came home, and there we looked up, and there was Harry's soul going up into heaven. It was very moving.
So you were there when Harry passed. Is that what you're saying?
Yes,
And so you got to
yes,
see him
yes.
ascend.
That's right. Yes, it was. I mean, it was just wonderful. It was very peaceful and very gratifying, and it was, just addition to the knowledge that there is being that we. I think back to your guest about our angels. It was just fantastic. It was about a month or so ago. Your guest was telling us about our angels that come into our body, I
Mhm.
think at the age 4 or 5. And it was just phenomenal. And that, I think, for me, is the biggest blessing of all. The fact that the angels The other day, just where I'm sitting, I found a feather, iridescent, beautifully white, perfectly structured, and it was just there in the corner. It's just a foot away from where I'm sat.
Huh. And there's no explanation for how it got there. It
No,
just showed up.
no, no explanation. It just showed up. And for that and all the other things, and the other things that I wanted to talk about was I'm sure you and many of your listeners have seen these sort of floating things that are in front of you. It's not, physiological or eye things. It's like floaters of, little dark spots.
Hmm.
It's just beautiful. And funnily enough, particularly after I listen to your podcasts, I get very sort of aware and look up, and there I see these beautiful flickers. It's just fantastic. It's almost as if it's people that I know that are very close. It could almost be touching them.
Yeah. Well, that's wonderful. I'm glad the
It's
meditations help you with your
yes,
vision. The thing that's coming to my mind though, right? Because I can hear somebody somewhere listening to
yeah,
this and saying, okay, but you're talking about seeing things, you felt your soul leaving your body, you saw your
yes,
pet's soul leaving, you saw your
yeah.
mom, you see these images. First off, how do I know that you're not crazy? And second off, if you can do it, then how can I do it? And so I'm wondering if you could speak to those two questions.
Of course I can, and I totally understand both the questions. I am firmly, and this is why I wanted to discuss about my career, about the fact that, in my own humble opinion, that I am completely sane, completely, I don't have abnormal thoughts of any paranoia, any, you know, I do believe, I think we had a chat before we started this, that I'm very persuaded by the Buddhist philosophies. One I've read quite recently, which absolutely is fantastic. And I think it helps. I mean, it's not a religion, of course, I know that, and it's not anything but a guidance for me to keep me strong. I've had to be strong to get through all the experiences that I've been. And the one thing that keeps saying, I read this a couple of days ago, and it said, next time I'm feeling low, I think I'm a blessed to be alive. I'm breathing. I am able to walk now. I have vision. I have water, food to eat, and I have a roof over my head. And these are sort of things that we take very much for granted. For 2 years, I was on fluids only, and now I'm eating some solid food. And while I was on the fluids only, when I was in hospital, I could only have sips of water for weeks. I was just sipping water. When I was in intensive care, I woke up and I wanted to say, I couldn't speak because of all the paraphernalia.
Hmm.
And they gave me a board to write on, but I didn't have the strength to write what I wanted to say. I was in my own zone. No one understood. No one. I was completely isolated. And it was quite frightening, actually. And so I had to rise above that. And so I know that I'm not, as you say, hopefully I'm not mentally, ill.
I don't
So,
think you are. I was just
no,
wondering, if someone
thank
out there
you.
was thinking that. I mean, for
So,
someone who
yes,
has worked in mental health for as long as
yes,
you have,
yeah,
you know what psychosis looks like.
for
You've
sure.
experienced, what it
Yes,
means to be around someone who is actively psychotic and
yeah,
potentially a danger to themselves or others. And
surely.
when you describe the experiences that you went through, I'm not hearing any of those classic symptoms of
Mm,
psychosis. And so
mm.
for those that might be doubting, it's not here.
No,
It's not here.
hopefully it's not. And the doubt is we all doubt. It's a behavioral. sort of thing. We sort of criticize, we hear what people say, but all those things that I've had the privilege with Lydia and my wife, mostly, but seeing these flickers of just in the corners of my eyes. It's not, as I say, cerebral. It's something occurring just out of my reach, really. And I find it's very reassuring and very powerful. And I thank goodness for it. And it's not about religion. It's not about anything like that. I guess for me, it's a spiritual awareness, and a gratitude that actually people are there protecting me. Like your guest said, the angels are there helping us.
Yeah.
I mean, he was just fantastic. It was fascinating, what he said. As I said before, we're all assigned. He said we're all assigned an angel, didn't he?
Yes, we
At the
are.
age 4 or 5.
Hmm.
What's your take on that?
I find it fascinating as well. I mean, I know there are people out there that doubt about what comes next, and I understand that, excuse me, death can maybe be a little bit scary. Certainly, I was raised very heavily Catholic, so of
Hmm.
course there's one good place to go and one bad place to go.
Yes.
Yet, the more that I grow and the more that I read up on spirituality and hear about experiences like yours, it seems to me that maybe the limiting view that religion can put onto the afterlife is actually just that, limited, and that maybe from the get-go we do have spiritual guides and helpers helping us through this messy, imperfect
Mm.
life so that we can learn what we need to learn before we have to transition to whatever comes next.
Fascinating. And we've spoken by email, I know, the fact that you are studying out-of-body experiences yourself.
Mhm.
And I've tried to be as open and honest about that experience or the experiences that I've had. And I'm hoping that this will help not only yourself, but listeners who may have been through a similar experience.
Oh, it's incredibly helpful, and it's just so fascinating, and I'm so appreciative of you
God bless.
speaking on it.
Yeah,
I wonder, and I want to be respectful of your schedule as well. The time that we have to record is
surely.
coming short, and it is night where you are, so of course I don't want to keep you late into the night.
Oh, no.
Um, I wonder about that other question, that second question
Yes.
that I had asked, which is how can other people maybe start to see some of the things that you see, whether it's
Mm,
actually physically with their eyes or if it's more so through meditation. I mean,
mm.
what tips or suggestions, if any, do you
Yes.
have to help
Yeah.
people get in
I
touch with that side of themselves?
Yes, that's a very interesting and good question. And the first answer that comes to mind is to, if you like, rise above. I've been in near-death experiences, several times. Lydia was told that I probably wouldn't survive this operation or that operation, or I wouldn't survive in intensive care. But I did. And it's that strength of mind, that purpose, and that realization that I have much more to give on earth now, and I want to give, and I don't want to be taken away from my earthly environment now. I know that there, as I said, that heaven awaits, but not at this moment, not now, or you know, and for that reason, I've I've focused, I've been challenged to ultimately in my health, and I obviously still am, but I am trying to rise above every problem that I can. And if that's by meditations or by other philosophies, then It's about power and moving forward and accepting that these things are good and positive and that they are happening. And I'm only too grateful that they are. And I revel, I thank goodness that they are. And, I'm blessed. I'm blessed to be alive.
Yeah.
And
Well, the
I'm blessed to
world
be
is
talking.
blessed that you are still alive because you
Bless you.
continue to
I'm blessed
share
to be
your
talking.
gifts, not
Yes,
just with others in your life, but also now people across the pond like myself and people
yes.
listening. So I know I'm grateful for it, and others are. I hope as well. John, is there any particular place or anything that you would like my audience to go to follow you at, to check you out? Or is it just more so like, hey, I just wanted to share this story and hopefully it was helpful?
Yes, I probably would say this story, I could speak forever about many other situations in my life, situations that have occurred and that have arisen where I've had to rise above and accept things head on as we all do. And I think from my point of view, it's about family. It's about, from my perspective, my best friend Lydia and her total belief in me and my belief in her, about my close family, and about the medical team that are so wonderful to me. One thing I haven't said, and I think I've mentioned it to you in private, is that at the moment I'm doing some voluntary work for a cancer charity locally. Most of the people, in fact, most all of the people probably have no idea of the fact that I'm probably going through the same journey as they are. But I empathize, I understand, I meet and greet and force the charity is wonderful for me. It keeps me sustained, it gives me opportunity, and it allows me to pay back in a very small way for all the treatment, all the care, and all the love that I've had.
Yeah. What a great gift that you can give to those who have gone through or are going through similar
Yes.
things to you.
Yeah.
Um, how about this then? If you feel comfortable sharing, what is the name of the charity? And maybe I can direct some
Yes.
people over there,
For
and if
sure.
they're able to
Yes,
help
for
out, then
sure.
they can.
The charity is Force Cancer Charity, and they are based in Exeter and East Devon, and they do vital work. And my consultant is called Juliet, and she has been instrumental in support for myself, and her team is just fantastic. I go along and I hand out teas and coffees to everybody and meet and greet, and for me it's just, as I say, a tiny percentage of payback for all the care that I've had. And it gives me the greatest of pleasure. And it's such a serene and tranquil place. It looks out on a beautiful garden. The building hasn't got wallpaper on the inside of the walls. It's got beautiful, like raffia work. It's just beautiful. And the peace and tranquility is just so peaceful. And it's a place that people can walk into and feel comfortable, safe, and tranquil.
Wonderful. It sounds so lovely. And you said it was Force Cancer Charity?
Force. Yes, that's right.
FORCE?
Absolutely. And
Okay.
it's just magical. And for me, it underpins everything.
Wonderful.
And
So if anyone here has had any benefit from listening to John and his story and what he's gone through, then please head on over. I'll put the link in the description. Force Cancer Charity, and if you're able to help out, I mean, if you happen
cool.
to be in the
Yeah.
area and local and you
Yeah.
want to go volunteer, great. If you are able to make a donation, I think that would be wonderful.
Mm.
So again,
Yeah.
Force Cancer Charity. Check out the link in the description.
Yes.
John, I have so much that I want to talk to you about, but we are about out of time. So, are there
Bless you,
any
Gregory.
final thoughts for for
Well,
me or the audience
yes.
that you'd like to leave us with?
Yes. Can I share a final thought?
Please.
Oh, thank you. Walk with who walks with you. Respect who respects you. Choose who chooses you. Trust what's proven. Invest where effort is mutual. Hold who holds you. And stand with those who stand with you. And love those who love you back.
I love it.
Amen.
I don't even know if I could put anything on that or add on to that because that was beautiful. So, thank you so much for being here
Oh,
and
Gregory,
sharing your
thank you.
story. And for those that are listening, again, I want to thank you for listening to this full interview. I hope you got something out of it. If you enjoy what I do here, of course, please do feel free to let me know. If you're listening on YouTube, leave a comment. If you are listening in a store like Apple Podcasts or Spotify, hey, leave me a review. Hopefully, I earn those 5 stars. And if you want to give me a 1 star review, well, you can keep that to yourself. But no, thank you all for listening. And I will be back next week with another wonderful meditation. But until next time, be safe, be well, be powerful.